So I figured I would record some stuff that I thought would be really helpful to anyone using RPG Maker. One is when you set up shop inventory, and I'm just using my Project Saving Gaia that I used for the class. Whenever you set up a shop, so you'll go in and you'll set up obviously your items or your weapons or your armor, whatever it may be, in the database here. Um, After you do that, then you will go in and I'll choose one of the last ones here. You'll go into like your weapon store, for instance. I'll bring this one up. And edit. And then it looks like a lot of jibber jabber here, but if you scroll all the way down and you double click, obviously this is a weapons and armor substitute, so you would click the radio button that says weapons, and then how it says 00, you don't even remember that number. It comes up and it shows weapons, because obviously that's what I've clicked, and then it's easily divided into these weapons. So you don't have to, the old version, it would literally be a drop down button, and you'd have to remember whatever one you would select. So like for instance, we're on Kite Shield 6, so if I wanted to add the next Kite Shield, I would just go here. So I would click Kite Shield 7, for instance, and I'd hit OK, and then I'd go here, and okay, so I know it's Kite Shield 7. Oh, well, shit. So it automatically remembers armor is Kite Shield 7, because I had put in another armor. So you just bring it up and you just click the next one down. With the drop down, it never did remember what one you were on. So that's really nice that these are, these are broken down into brackets. And it remembers, and that's really nice. I don't actually want that item there though. So that's super, super nice, super helpful. It's the same thing for the general store. In here, and go in here and you can click whatever item. The items are drop downs though. They're not the radio buttons. I really want this to get changed to the radio buttons as well, because the radio buttons are really nice for the weapons and for the armors, because they're super nice. Unfortunately, the items are still just a drop down menu. I don't know if it's if you get above a certain amount, but I don't think so, because this, 20, 60, But yeah, the items are still unfortunately radio button, still, drop down menu. But the weapons and armors are radio buttons, which is super nice. You can always do standard and specific, because you only want them to have so many. The other nice thing is if you are on a map like this, and I'll go ahead and edit. If you're putting in your enemies, your troops of enemies, and you go in, these are no longer a drop-down menu either. These are set up in this format as well, where it's a pop-up, and if you select an enemy, for instance like a crab, and you say okay, and like it says the entire map. I don't actually have them set up. I have them set up by regions, and then this one does not remember, unfortunately, which one you were on, but you can always cancel out and you can be like, oh, okay, I was on crab for whatever. It does not remember which one you were on, unfortunately, for this one. Unlike the other ones, I wish this would have the remember feature like other ones do. But it's still a super nice feature. That these were made into the little brackets as well. instead of drop-down menus, because the drop-down menus were horrendous. So that's super nice. So those two things are really nice. Of course, you still have your regions are always down here. You know, you can set up your regions for where you want to encounter monsters. This one, you can build your own shadows. Sorry, I have it. So if you want to put your own shadows down, because you want your shadows to be longer, if it makes more sense, because you have like this one's taller than like this one, obviously, so the shadow would be longer. This one's really short, so maybe, you know, you don't want it to cast a shadow or hardly any shadow. You know, maybe you want this little thing to cast a shadow over this way. You know, it would be really up to you, you know. If you want something to completely fill in, of course, there's that. Make sure if you have a plugin, like I have plugins in here. I have a message core plugin that has word wrap. So this has word wrap, enable word wrap. If you have word wrap and stuff, if it also enables like mine, page break. So edit, convert manually placed non-tag line breaks with spaces. So this means if I put a space, if I do certain things to get page breaks, so I can get in page breaks if I want. Make sure you have all that kind of stuff set up right, because RPG Maker does not come with word wrapping, so keep that in mind, and I'll show you what I mean. MC Home, because I have an event that runs right here. So this here, edit. So right here where this line is here, so right there where that line is, the text does stop. If you do not have a plugin or something that has a word wrap feature, if I hit preview, that is where the line, that's where the text cuts off. So if you, in the actual engine word wrap, because I have a plugin, it'll just wrap around and it'll look nice and beautiful and not like that. So, but if you don't have word wrap, then it will cut off and look atrocious. Another thing, depending on what plugins you have, you'll have to redo your items, because like I have this needs to be set to none, and this needs to be set to never for certain, like for like your key items, you need to make sure that you're set to none and they're set to never and set to consumable to no. Because if they're not, then, and I am sorry you are hearing my cat. She thinks it's bedtime. But yeah, you have to go through and you have to set this kind of stuff. Because if you don't, depending on how you have things set up, it will actually think that you can like use this stuff, and then it'll actually have like a little checkbox. I'm not gonna set it all up right now, but yeah, it'll have that stuff. So make sure you have that set up. Obviously make sure you put in correct icons, make sure this stuff actually matches. I have a plugin for enemy levels, but even with that, make sure this scaling is correct. I have this set also with a plugin, so that way the battlebacks work for certain regions, although that would only work if you have it set to like a region. For instance, make sure, you know, everything's set up and working. This is for an event. Oh, another thing is to make sure that your sound do not have, so for instance, if you go in here, do not have this volume jacked up all the way to 90 and like your pitch jacked all the way up to like 100, because if you don't have it to where your people can actually change the volume, it's going to be super loud. And it's going to hurt their ears. And not feel good at all. So that's the thing. There is also a, oh yeah, if you have it set like mine where the person doesn't have a name because they're gonna pick their name and everything, make sure you have that set up in your here to actor equals 1, which won't say anything, but it does actually matter if you go through and delete everybody. So yeah, there's that. And like if you don't want to have different things turned on or off, make sure that's set correctly. The sizing, that can make a huge difference. And whenever you're showing stuff off, make sure you let people know if it's set from like 1 to 1, or if you have it like majorly zoomed out, because for instance, the starting town actually looks like this, but if I'm zooming it out to show to someone, I might have it zoomed out to show to someone, and then I might have to go, oh, but it actually full scale looks like this. So that's something to keep in mind. Just as a little like thing to keep a note. And you know, always make sure your stuff is tested very often. And if you can't figure something out, ask someone else in forums and stuff. I'm currently having issues with this boat because I cannot figure out why it's not working. But that's an issue for another time. But yeah, it's a thing that happens sometimes with these types of games. But I hope that you've enjoyed my little talk of like things that I wish that I knew. This is the overworld map so far. But yeah, that's really all I've got. And all of these are DLC. None of these are the standard tiles that come with the RPG Maker. I've paid for all of them as well. You don't have to pay for them, but it gives it a nicer feel if you don't have the standard ones. Just something to think about as well.